Honest J. Nowak. Coming at you live. Alright. A pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome back to HJN Graphix. And today, for this next pick that I have here for Graphix, we're going to get on going with another pick that I've basically taken up on for the top 20 best PS4 games I've ever played. This pick in particular was a very unique specimen. It came from a company called Quantic Dream, and it's called Detroit Become Human. This was released in spring 2018 as the third and biggest title that relates to point-and-click action games by Quantic Dreams, a French creator whom had already become well known throughout the 90s and 2000s, but starting in 2010 with an all-new point-and-click style series with dialogue trees, impressive characters, plenty of twists, and a lot of things that you can pretty much do to progress through any kind of story that it puts you in. It all began in 2010 with Heavy Rain, and then 3 years later there was Beyond Two Souls, which I'm actually currently revisiting right now for Megapix Weekly Season 2. And then in 2018 we have Detroit Become Human. This is a game that I feel like was so well put together, so well designed, so impressively done, that I've actually gone ahead and played through it 5 different times. Yeah, this is one of several games out there that I actually went on ahead and revisited. There are some occasions where I would indeed revisit certain games, especially if there are a lot of things that I pretty much missed. And there were certain times where I've actually had to play through Until Dawn twice, when I revisited it in August 2020, and then I revisited several other titles since then, like Batman Arkham Knight, Heavy Rain, Street Fighter V Champion Edition, The Last of Us Part 2, as I did pretty much leave it behind incomplete, and some others pretty much. But I will at least consider Detroit Become Human something that I played as far back as June 2020 to be quite a staple by any means possible. The thing is that this is a title that has so much more to it than just the name, than just the story arc, than just the whole thing about it. For a Quantic Dream title in 2018, their most recent masterpiece, I'd say it's pretty well done. It's not only the best I might have ever played, from all of them at least, but it's also the possible best point-and-click style game, period. And I've played a lot of them. I played through a lot of the different Telltale games, point-and-click style titles of all sorts. They went defunct a few years ago, but the thing is, I will never forget the many memories of all sorts, with titles of all sorts relating to different licensed franchises like Batman, Back to the Future, and Jurassic Park. That of which I would consider to be the greatest of all the Telltale games that they've made. And I tell you, a Jurassic Park point-and-click game, I mean, it's been done before, especially on Sega CD, but for a modern 2011 style Jurassic Park point-and-click game in 2011 by Telltale Games, it's just amazing. I'd probably consider that to be one of the best Xbox 360 titles I played, but PS4 titles are what I'm all about nowadays. Especially because it's the most recent console I got, it's the best console I got, it has probably the greatest library ever when it comes to video games in general. Way more than anything that we've seen before. The PS2, the Nintendo Wii, the NES, the Sega Genesis, and everything else combined. Because this is an era where everybody can learn from their mistakes. This is a time where everybody can join on in. The modern gaming craze is still a big, hopeful, legendary legacy. And it's something that will probably continue to stick around for decades to come. Of course, you probably know that the PS5, however, seems to be a little more than a fad. Especially because of all the troubles that we've had to have all this time. Even though we have PS5 games, PS5 controllers, PS5 accessories, the consoles themselves are what the real trouble points out to. But you know what though? I'm willing to let all that slide because I'm still stuck with the PS4. It's still the best console I got. The best library of games possible. Detroit Become Human is certainly the third best game that I've ever played, as I've said during my top 20 best PS4 games countdown, and it's because of a variety of different things. The story. You play as 3 different main characters. Kara, Connor, and Marcus. All the 3 are androids. Androids built by the company known as CyberLife, stationed in Michigan. These 3 androids have different paths that they take. Connor is the type that is made for police and detective work. Marcus was originally designed as a caretaker towards senior citizens, and then you have Kara, who is mostly a household assistant who does a lot of things including chores and assistance with children, especially when it comes to homework and hygiene, pretty much. All 3 of these main characters have a huge purpose for each of them, but unfortunately, a little thing seems to encounter all of them entirely. A process known as deviancy. A lot of them actually claim that it's sort of like a virus that is spread by wireless contact. It's almost in the same way that every one of us seems to have an encounter with nCoV, a viral strand that has killed millions of people worldwide, and is probably going to continue to do so until everybody gets the correct treatment, and nothing more or less. Deviancy, of course, does eventually come across all 3 of them. But the thing is, it's depending on the choices you make. As a matter of fact, when you first boot up the game, you're greeted by an android by the name of Chloe. This basically serves as the main screen itself, the title screen that also houses the many things on it, including the main menu, options, controls, and all that good stuff. Of course, when you start the game, it begins in the year 2038, the month of August, and it's the first time that we see Connor, pretty much, out on the job doing some police detective work when a murder takes place. A high-rise building with another android who has encountered deviancy by the name of Daniel has apparently taken a family's own child hostage while killing the rest of them, pretty much. It's up to Connor to rescue this child, this hostage, in the best way possible. This is basically the starting point of what you'd eventually start to comprehend with all the things that take place. For Connor, you have the ability to scan, detect, find clues, retrace certain things, and create little scenarios in the form of little animations that can take place, as a way to recount exactly what could happen on the basis of a crime scene. And you do get to do this several times, pretty much, throughout the game. So, of course, Connor is able to find out that Daniel murders the family while getting the child and keeping this child as a hostage. No matter what you could probably do, either you save the child and the deviant dies, or you end up saving the child while killing Connor at the same time. And there are several different ways that this ending takes place. So this is just basically a sampling of all that is pretty much there. All types of endings that you can possibly get for every chapter in the main story. So every single stage has its own particular type of pathway that you set for yourself, with all the impressive complexities that are put together when it comes to controls and operation behind the storyboard itself. You basically have a lot that you can do with the game itself. As for Connor, Kara, and Marcus, all 3 of them, they would all eventually cross paths. Marcus ends up getting dished out after someone in the family ends up putting out the blame, thinking that Marcus was the one behind someone's death. And as a result, Marcus pretty much gets sent out to the junkyard, but eventually comes out better than ever, and is willing to find exactly how to get back at humanity for the things that they've done to innocent machines of all sorts. Not just androids, but anything else in general. So Marcus, in turn, starts a rebellion under an entire grouping of deviant androids whom hide inside a large cargo freighter called Jericho, which is very much like the story based on the book of Genesis. So, the thing is, this game does whatever it possibly can to entertain you, no matter which way it pretty much takes you. And I've seen a lot come out of both Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls, but Detroit Become Human has everything that's just possible all over the place. I've played all three of these Quantic Dreams point-and-click style games with this impressive sort of animation, which is in fact done by the classic art of motion capture. Andy Serkis may be the king of motion capture, but it's safe to say that anybody can nowadays do just that, as a form of art, as a form of cinematography. So, Serkis may have done it the best, but everybody's pretty much in it at this point. Video games of all sorts these days are in fact using this exact art of motion capture to capture the animation of all the different characters and even the environment around. So it makes the games look as recently, as realistic, and as ubiquitous as possible. So, just for a game to look good, there's always that little ditty though. Graphics don't matter much if the game plays well. I don't just see the graphics as amazingly well designed, but I also see the gameplay done so darn well in Detroit Become Human that it's no wonder why I rank it number 3 of the best PS4 games I've ever played countdown, alongside Red Dead Redemption 2 being the second and Ark Survival Evolved being the first. It will always be the first for a reason. But above all that, the ending to Detroit Become Human circumnavigates around a few different things. The President of America in the year 2038 makes a statement regarding whatever events had pretty much taken place, and then eventually sets out a certain plan. Either the humans take back their country from the androids, either they share the country with the androids, or they do nothing at all. So, of course, it's the thing that makes that happen, the thing that makes humanity actually feel about the androids, are the kind of choices that you make. Either you have a rebellion where you gun down a lot of people in the city of Detroit and pretty much take over the entire city, or you set off a giant bomb in the city. A bomb that's made out of cobalt. But in the game, it's canonically referred to as a dirty bomb, which is, in fact, relevant. And it makes sense, because there are real-life weapons that retain this sort of property to it. And as a result, they have, in fact, been given this sort of dirty name to it. But the thing is, no matter the ending you actually pick, especially when it comes to Marcus's path, the other two don't pretty much necessarily matter, because Kara's main goal is to basically get out of the city, out of America, and head on over to Canada until things pretty much pass. And as for Connor, well, depending on what you do in a certain stage, where either you turn Connor into a deviant or keep Connor as a machine. Either Connor basically stops Marcus from rebelling against the human race, or you have Connor who can basically help Marcus with the rebellion by invading CyberLife itself, the main headquarters, the CyberLife Tower, where Connor can in fact get up and close personal with a huge warehouse full of unused androids. Thousands of unused androids. But let's also not forget, Connor has a partner by the name of Lieutenant Hank Anderson of the Detroit Police Department. And this partner also can interact with you in certain ways, depending on what you could potentially do. Whatever kind of line you pick from the dialogue trees, and the same thing pretty much goes with the majority of other characters, pretty much, depending on what you choose, you can in fact allow for certain emotions to take place. Lots of reactions can take place within the confines of this entire canon, and it's all dependent on what you pick. Either you make them feel happy or you make them feel sad. Either you make them feel scared, or angry, or anything else entirely. So, phenomenal design by all means. Phenomenal character selection, especially when it comes to Brian DeCharge, Valerie Curry, Jesse Williams, Clancy Brown, Lance Henriksen, and pretty much anybody else. I mean, this is way more than just a simple old masterpiece from 2018. It's way more than anything else that I might have ever seen in my whole life. But yet, I have my reasons as to why Red Dead Redemption 2 and Ark Survival Evolved are even better than Detroit Become Human. But I've already talked about those back then, so you can be sure to check out those episodes if you feel like it. And if you want to see more go down on my channel, then make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.